Go for the awards. The World Cup is on its way out.
2010 FIFA World Cup winner with Spain, Sergio
We've seen
Ramos,
members of the 2010 Spain World Cup winning team all around the stadium. Sergio Ramos with a hug for Luis de la Fuente. President of the United States on the field, alongside Gianni Infantino of FIFA.
On the night of July 19, 2026, inside a packed MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the lights dimmed, the confetti cannons fired, and Rodri, the quiet, methodical, brilliant engine of the greatest international football team of this generation, lifted the FIFA World Cup trophy above his head for the first time. Spain are world champions again. 16 years after Andres Iniesta's extra-time goal in Johannesburg handed them their first title, and after 16 months of being the reigning European champions too, they have completed a run of football so dominant, so clean, so utterly relentless that future generations will study it as a blueprint for what the sport looks like when everything goes right. Before any of that, before the football, before the goals, before the tears, there was the spectacle of the closing ceremony itself, which set a new standard for what a World Cup final evening can look like. Post Malone headlined the pre-match performance approximately 90 minutes before kickoff, and then, in a genuine first for FIFA, the tournament introduced a 27-minute halftime show modeled on the NFL's Super Bowl tradition. The lineup was almost absurdly star-studded: Justin Bieber, Madonna, Shakira, BTS, Burna Boy, Venezuelan conductor Gustavo Dudamel leading a live orchestral component, and even characters from Sesame Street and the Muppets making appearances in a production that signaled FIFA and the co-host nations wanted this World Cup remembered as a cultural event as much as a sporting one. Coldplay's Chris Martin curated the halftime concept. Actor Tom Cruise, lowered dramatically from the roof of the stadium in one of the pre-match theatrical moments, added his own energy. Whether you came purely for the football or were drawn in by the surrounding spectacle, the evening at MetLife Stadium was designed to be unforgettable from the first arriving fan to the last firework. The final itself was a masterwork of patience against Argentina, the defending champions, in front of over 80,000 supporters who had been waiting for 98 minutes of scoreless, attritional, nerve-shredding football before Ferran Torres changed everything in the 105th minute of extra time. Torres, a substitute, received a pass from Nico Williams and finished low and firmly into the net past Argentina goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez, and just like that, 16 years of waiting became 16 seconds of pure Spanish bedlam along the touchline and in the stands. Argentina had been reduced to 10 men 3 minutes into the second period of extra time when Enzo Fernandez, who had scored the tournament-defining winner against Egypt in the round of 16, fouled Kubarsi inside the box and collected his second yellow card of the match, referee Slavko Vincic leaving himself no choice but to dismiss him. Argentina, who had not registered a single shot on target throughout regulation, a quite extraordinary statistic given the quality of their attacking personnel, never truly threatened to force penalties despite the final's tense, compelling nature. Spain had done it the same way they did it in 2010, 1-0, extra time, a goal from a player who had not started the final. History rhyming with itself in the most precise, beautiful fashion. What made the trophy ceremony that followed so emotionally loaded was the layering of stories that converged on that stage. Members of the 2010 World Cup winning squad were present inside the stadium, watching their successors achieve what they themselves achieved in South Africa, a recognition that this Spanish footballing identity, built on possession, pressing, collective trust, and individual technical excellence, had been passed faithfully from one generation to the next across nearly 2 decades. And the receiving party on stage captured something genuinely historic about the moment too. FIFA President Gianni Infantino stood alongside U.S. President Donald Trump, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, the 3 co-host nations united in the formal presentation of the sport's greatest prize. Trump and Infantino were greeted with a mixture of cheering and booing from sections of the crowd as the ceremony began, a reminder that football rarely exists in a purely political vacuum, but neither reaction could diminish what was happening on the pitch level below them. The awards were presented before the trophy itself, and Spain swept every single one of them. Pau Cubarsí, the 19-year-old center-back who had become one of the tournament's most talked-about defenders, won the Adidas Young Player Award for the outstanding performance by a player born on or after January 1, 2005. Cubarsí received his trophy to a roar from the Spanish end of the stadium that said everything about what this teenager had meant to the campaign. He had played with the composure and reading of the game of a player 10 years his senior across 7 World Cup matches, forming part of a defensive structure that, across the entire tournament, conceded exactly 1 goal, a record that stands as one of the most extraordinary defensive achievements in the competition's history. The Adidas Golden Glove for the tournament's best goalkeeper went to Unai Simón, who had kept 6 clean sheets across 7 matches and extended his personal World Cup shutout streak to 609 consecutive minutes before the final. That run surpassed the previous records held by Italy in 1990 and Switzerland between 2006 and 2010. Simon's importance to this Spain side is sometimes understated precisely because his defense in front of him was so organized that he faced fewer shots than most World Cup winning goalkeepers, but the saves he did make, including 2 crucial stops against Cristiano Ronaldo in the round of 16, were match-defining moments that changed the entire narrative of the tournament. The coach Luis de la Fuente had ended the pre-tournament debate about his starting goalkeeper immediately and without hesitation, declaring Simón as number 1. And over 39 days the goalkeeper had vindicated every element of that trust. Then came the moment that crystallized this entire Spain story in the most fitting individual award possible. Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante, the Manchester City and now Ballon d'Or winning defensive midfielder, was announced as the Adidas Golden Ball winner for the tournament's most outstanding player. The reaction to his name being called was telling. A genuine, warm, sustained roar from the Spanish supporters that spoke to how deeply this squad and its supporters understand what Rodri actually does. He doesn't score regularly. He doesn't produce the kinds of highlights that go viral within seconds of appearing online. What he does is control space, win possession, make every teammate around him better, and make the game look slower and simpler than it actually is. He is the reason Spain transitions so cleanly from defense to attack. He is the reason opponents find their passing lanes blocked before they've even decided where to pass. And in a tournament where individual stars like Messi, Mbappe, Dembele, and Vinicius Jr. dominated almost every conversation, Rodri was voted the most outstanding player, a vindication not just of his personal excellence, but of the entire football philosophy Spain embody. Rodri had actually started the final on the bench, brought on by de la Fuente as part of a tactical shift in extra time once Enzo Fernandez received his second yellow card and Argentina were reduced to 10 men. His presence on the pitch, even briefly, was a reminder of what makes this squad so formidable: depth, intelligence, and a coaching staff that trusts its instincts completely in the biggest moments. The ceremony's final act was the trophy lift itself, and Rodri led the squad toward the presentation platform with the same unhurried, measured quality he brings to every aspect of his game. President Trump and Infantino presented the 18-karat gold trophy formally, and then Rodri took it in both hands, raised it above his head, and the sky above MetLife Stadium exploded in fireworks. The Spanish players who had been sitting together in the presentation area for 20 minutes of formalities suddenly became 26 individuals again, sprinting toward each other, lifting Rodri, embracing coaches, collapsing in groups on the grass. De La Fuente, 65 years old and now the oldest coach in history to win the FIFA World Cup, watched it all from the edge of the stage with tears streaming freely down his face, a man who had coached the same group through youth levels, through under-21 tournaments, through the Nations League, and now through the greatest prize the sport offers. Across the stadium, the contrast told its own story. Lionel Messi, who had given everything in this tournament, 8 goals, a penalty missed, a comeback for the ages against Egypt, all of it, stood near the runner-up podium in a silver medal he clearly didn't want, surrounded by teammates who understood precisely how he felt. He had tried to win a second consecutive World Cup at 39 years old with his best physical years behind him, and he had come agonizingly close, carrying Argentina through moments that had no right to be as beautiful as they were given the circumstances. He will not play in another World Cup.